I'm Christine Weiser. I'm the Content Director for Tech and Learning, and we are really thrilled to be partnering with the New York City Department of Education today for the Beyond Access Forum. Specifically, we're partnering with the Division of Specialized Instruction and Student Support, the Office of Digital Inclusion, and the New York City School Library System. So thrilled to be partnering with them. And also a big partner, a big special thank you to our partners like Wix, who have joined us for the day. So please be sure to stop by and say hello. You can book a meeting, you can chat in the conference hub, and I will put that link in the chat here. So just a few things about the hub if you're just joining us. So I'll put the links in here so you can navigate back there, but in the hub, you can visit the partner booths and chat with them. You can network with other attendees and just navigate to the registration directory, and you can connect with each other that way. We will be posting all of the recordings in the resource hub after the conference is over. So then we've got some other resources in there already you might want to check out. And we are doing a passport to prizes. So throughout the conference hub, you'll find several buttons to enter, and every time you find a button and you click on it and fill out the form, you will earn one entry into the raffle, and we'll do that drawing at the end of the day. So I do want to make you aware that if you have questions, you can put them into the chat. And you do have the option to turn on the captioning by navigating to that transcript button at the bottom of your screen, and just you want to say show subtitles within your Zoom console. That will turn on the closed captioning. And I'm going to put the hashtag NYC Schools Inclusion in the chat, as well as the link to the form that you can complete for CETL credit for your participation today. But with that, I'm going to pass it off to our friends at Wix, and they will take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Christine. It's really great to be here with everyone. I can see how many folks are joining. So let's get started. So my name is Saskia, and I am here with my colleague Moran, and I am a former educator. I taught a middle school computer science class, care a lot about creativity and learning with students, and had the privilege of working with Moran before when we were both members of the Scratch team at the MIT Media Lab. So I'll pass it off to Moran so she can introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Moran. I'm another part of the Wix Education team for the last 2.5 years. I'm a software engineer by training and also an educator, and I've spent the last couple of years looking at different ways to help beginners get started with coding with Scratch, with BrainPop, and now with Wix. Yeah.
Great. So we would just love to get a sense of who's here with us. So we would love for you to navigate over to the chat in Zoom and write your name, your school, whoops, there we go. And what's something you like to make? So this can be a food that you like. We get a lot of like cookies and baked goods. This can be a craft. This can be interpreted any other way, like you like to make friends. So I'd love for everyone to go to the chat. I'm also seeing folks put in their pronouns, which is awesome. I use she, her pronouns, and something that they like to make. Awesome. So I'm seeing visual art. Ooh, bread, yes. Pesto. I love that. Broken things work again. Super cool. Wow, these are amazing. 3D printers, pastas, cupcakes. I'm just focusing on the food now, not on where you guys are. Nice. Drawing. Very cool. Okay. Plants. Yes. Brunches. Okay, now I'm getting too distracted looking at your answers. So I'd love for everyone to continue to introduce themselves, say hi, where you're at, who you are, even as we're heading over to the next slide. Very cool. Great. Welcome, everyone. So now that you know where the chat is, and I'm sure you all know Zoom in and out by now, I'd love to invite you officially to be our co-facilitators. So using the chat for questions, if anything comes up that you have a question, we're constantly looking at it, we're keeping an eye on it, but also to share your ideas, best practices, and any resources that come up for you as well. So Even though it's going to be Moran and myself speaking a lot too, we'd love for you to see yourself as a co-facilitator in this space too. Great. So we only have 45 minutes together today, and we've got a lot to cover. And I'm going to stop reading all of your incredible food things. Yes, Christine, I'm also suddenly starving. And here's our agenda for today. So we're going to kind of do this in 3 parts. So the first one is, what can you do with Wix? So why are we here? What do we do? Use Wix. Then we'll dive in a little bit deeper and talk about how can you create a website that's both stunning, but also accessible. And we have some resources that we'd love to share for you for that. And then the third thing we're going to do is tell you a little bit about what we do on our team beyond spaces like this, where we're really focusing on equipping students with tools to be creative. Okay, so I'm already seeing some questions come through the chat, and we'll get to them as we're speaking. So that brings us to part 1. What can you do with Wix? So to kick us off, I'd love to share just a quick little video of what Wix does. That's kind of a fun intro to who we are and what we do. And maybe this might answer some questions as well. Whoops. Okay, this should go. Let me know if you can't hear this.
Hello, my Kung Fu friends. Are you ready for me to blow your minds? Look at your website, now look at mine. Back at yours. Kia! Let's be honest, your website is older than leftover noodles and it's starting to stink. You need Wix.com. Whether you're a photographer, a rockin' musician, a restaurant owner, or a dragon warrior, with Wix, you can create a website that leaps right off the screen. Go to Wix.
Okay, I'm seeing that it's hard to hear with the sound. So let me see if I can turn that up. If not, then we'll just go over to the YouTube and check it out. Okay.
I think just try to up the volume.
Yes. I don't think I can do that within the slide itself, though. Okay. Let's see. Can I?
Hello, my Kung Fu friends. Are you ready for me to blow your minds?
We can also drop a link to this in the chat, too, and you can watch it on your own. It's very cute.
Let's be honest, your website is older than leftover noodles.
Okay.
It's starting to stink.
So it's I don't think I can do the sound within the chat. That's totally fine. So maybe we can just talk a little bit through what Wix is and what we do, and Moran, feel free to chime in. So Wix is a platform where you can create websites. So by using drag and drop tools, it's really easy to get started, to create something fun and engaging. And you don't need to know code to just start coming in and creating a website. With that, I'll make sure to drop a link to that fun video in the chat, but I think we can kind of move on to the next part. And the thing that I love and find really engaging about Wix is that every Wix website tells a story. So it's not just about what it looks like on the web or like putting beautiful designs up, but it's about telling who you are, expressing yourself, and really getting to showcase what you care about and communicating your story. So some of these websites, which is why we're here today, and we'd love to share a little bit more about our stories with you, tell the stories of New York City schools. So I'll pass it off to Moran to say a little bit more about that.
Hi. We started working with the digital inclusion team in New York about, I guess, a year and a half ago, trying to help you all create websites that are accessible. Some schools were already using Wix, a lot of them were not using Wix, and we just try to make it easy for you to follow the standards for accessibility. If you can go to the next slide. We were very lucky last year to be able to come visit you all in New York and be part of the wonderful summit, and happy to be here on the virtual world, but it was much better to be there face to face with you all. We did a workshop on accessibility, which is kind of similar to what we're doing right now. And I think the main thing that we revealed at this workshop was the accessible templates that we created especially for New York schools, which you'll see in a second.
So we'd love to share that template with you, but also just spend a moment imagining what kind of websites can you make with Wix, with the idea that every site tells a story. So whether you're thinking about creating a website for your school or for your class or classroom, maybe you have a club that you're focusing on, maybe there's an initiative or an event that you'd like to create a site for, or even a blog to showcase your own story. So you can use these sites to post class projects and resources, communicate with students and parents, tell folks about something that's coming on soon, like a special project or a class project, or you can collaborate with students and showcase their work. So as we're kind of exploring this template, I'd love for you all to be thinking about how might you use this template in your space? How could you utilize these tools to suit your needs or maybe get your project online that you've been thinking about? So that brings us to this next section, and I'll pass it back to Moran about creating accessible and stunning websites utilizing the template that we just talked about.
And I think maybe we should switch screens. So
All
I can
right,
do the demo.
I will stop sharing and pass it over to you.
And I'll try to present. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
So as I mentioned, this is the NYC Accessible Template. This is a collaboration between Wix, the education team, a team of designers that worked on creating this, and the digital inclusion team in New York. It's based on a lot of research on what we thought would be a good fit for what schools actually need. And the great thing about it is that it's an accessible starting point. We can't promise that if you work with this template, your website will be accessible. This is something that you would have to do, make sure that everything you're changing still keeps all the accessibility standards. But the starting point is already accessible, and it's set up in a way that's hopefully easy for you to work with and get started. I want to show you a little demo of how this looks and how we can work with this. So the template itself is right here. So I can drop the link here in the chat, but it's also on the resources page for Wix. It's also in the Microsoft Teams for us. It's anywhere that you look for Wix and NYC, you'll find this template. But I dropped a link in the chat in any case. And as I scroll through this, you'll see it's fairly simple. But it does have a lot of different things, images, a way to sign up for to get updates. There's a page with events where you could actually add events that are happening in the school. There's a page for admission. So there's a lot of different pages. And like one thing that I think we mentioned about Wix already is that this is just a starting point. You can change anything. You can change the text, you can change the colors, you can add pages, you can remove pages, you can make it your own. So obviously not all schools would need all of those things, and your school probably needs a lot of other things. But you can start with this and start changing. And I see a question about, can you use this to make a library website? And the answer is definitely yes. Like this is all up to you and what you decide to do with it. So let's say I looked at the template, I like the template, I want to use it. The first thing that I have to do is actually click on edit this site. And at this point, if you're already signed into Wix, it's going to open the editor. That's what's happening for me. If you're not, it's just going to ask you to sign up. It's a free sign up. I think we didn't mention the fact that Wix is a free platform. It's using a freemium model. So the only time you need to pay is if you need to use some of our premium features. So starting with your personal domain or like your school's specific domain, which costs a couple of dollars a month, and all the way up to like people build e-commerce crazy websites on this. And so obviously they pay more for premium. But signing up is free and you can do that easily. So I clicked on edit template, and now you'll see that I got the same template, but this is actually a copy. That's my copy, and I can start working with and changing it. I'm going to take you through a couple of steps of little things you can change, and also talk about the accessibility bits of it at the same time. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We also have, I guess we'll mention it more in the end, but I'll just say that now that we have webinars recorded that cover all of these things way more in depth about accessibility bits of it. So if you want to look at that later on and like see how to do every little thing, you can do that. Okay, now let's get started with all of this. So the first thing I want to change, maybe my school is not called Spring Hill. Maybe it's called Beyond Access. Okay, so I just came here, I double clicked on the text and now I can change it. And maybe now I feel like this is too big. So I can come here and I can make the text a little smaller. I can change the color to something different or add like obviously any color that's out there. I can change the font. I can start playing with all the different options that I have for text. Let's say Beyond Access is not a middle school, it's a forum, so I can change this. And here I can start putting in, I can also copy paste from other resources and just put my text here. So any text on the page that you want to change, this is how you do it. You basically double click it and just add, just type in whatever you want. One like first note about accessibility here. If you've heard about accessibility before, there are three main things that you need to make sure that you follow. There's obviously a lot more, but these are the main ones. One of them is the heading structure, making sure that every page has one H1 and then like that every other subtitle has H2 and the paragraph text is called paragraph. So I'm just going to show you how to, like, obviously now it's okay. It's already set up in a way that's good to go, but just so you know. So because Beyond Access is now my title, I want this to be my H1. If I scroll down here to where it says SEO and accessibility, I can make sure that the heading tag is actually H1. Let's say I want to change it. It's actually not my main title anymore. I just come here and I choose a different age or a P section. Same here, all of these are obviously subtitles. So if I come here and I check, this is actually marked as an H2. This is marked as a P. And whenever you're working on your template and making changes, you need to make sure that you're still keeping the heading structure in line. That was a little bit about text. Other things you can do, buttons. Obviously, you can control the text on the buttons. Instead of discover the school, maybe I want to say join us now, and I can decide where I want this button to go. So if I click here, it just opens a menu of options. Right now it links to the about page, but I can choose any other page on my site, or I can decide to link it to a different web page. Maybe this could have been like the actual website, the actual link for the Zoom call or for the agenda or whatever I want. I can also just put wix.com here, and now this will go to Wix. And obviously there are a lot of other options here. You can connect it to email or phone number, or just make it go to the bottom or the top of the page. But the main things are connecting to different pages. Let's say the about page. And same here, everything on Wix is totally customizable. So if I come here and I click on layout, I can decide which way my text aligns. If I come here and I click on design, I get all the different options. I can change the way the button looks, and I could even go and specifically customize every color here. I can control the text again, like the font, the size, the colors, everything. One note about the colors, like right now you'll see that the site has a color scheme, and this color scheme was chosen in a way that makes sure that color contrast is okay. So this purple on the yellow makes sense, it works, it passes contrast checkers. And if you want to change that, you just need to make sure you can change that and use your school colors or whatever colors you feel are nice and make sense for you. But if you do that, just make sure that you're still passing the contrast tests. I'll show you how to do that. one really nice thing that I love about Wix is that you actually have, this is a new thing. Well, actually, I'm not sure it's open yet. So if I come here to design and customize it, and I'm going to click on whatever color in my website, I have an option to edit the site colors here. You see this option. And again, I'm just reminding you that like we have the webinars where you could pause and like see all of these things like slowly. I'm going to click edit, and now I have the different themes. And here I can basically change the colors. So I can decide that instead of this yellow, I want, I don't know, let's say a light green. Okay. And if I do that, you'll notice that it didn't only change this yellow, but it also changed the colors here. And basically anywhere on the site where it was yellow, now it's greenish. And if I'll do the same and change this color to, I don't know what will make good contrast. So we're just going to choose something, and you're going to have to believe me that we can make the color contrast work. Let's say I choose something like this. I think this is probably not the best. But now with just 2 clicks and just 2 changes, my whole site changed, the palette changed for it. And I'm sure you know by now, you could always go to like find a contrast checker and just put these colors in. You have their hex over here, so you can just copy the hex color and check that the contrast works. So this was colors and text and buttons. I want to show you one really cool thing, which is images. So changing images is really easy. Obviously, you probably don't want all these like generic images on your website. So if I come here and I click on one of the images and click change strip background, I can choose to put a color here in the background. I can choose an image or even a video. But like maybe let's go with an image. So if I click on the image, it opens up a library, a media from Wix library. It has thousands of images that you can use on your websites. They're free to use on the website. They're not copyrighted in a way that you need to pay like close attention to. And you can just choose whatever you want. We also have Shutterstock images, which obviously cost a little more money, and Unsplash, which is another source of images that are free to use and do not need attribution. But I'll come back to media from Wix. So let's say I want to look for something like education. I can come here, and then it just gives me a lot of images that I can choose from. Maybe I want to write school. And I can choose any image that feels right. Like maybe instead of the picture here, I actually really like this picture. So I just click change background. And again, with just a couple of small clicks, I change the image here. I could also control it. So like, again, change the opacity, add another color on it, just make sure that it's exactly the way I want it. Other things that you can do, drag elements, move them around. It's just dragging and dropping. You probably don't want to do a lot of that because that's going to ruin the lovely layout that you have here. But you can control everything that you need from here. Last thing I want to show you, oh, I guess for images, we also wanted to talk about alt text. So we talked about the 3 main things for accessibility. We talked about heading structure. We talked about color contrast. And then the last thing is looking at alt text. So every image on Wix has a way for you to, sorry, oops. That's really not what I meant to do. Sorry, I just clicked out of my editor. Let's see what was saved. Anyway, each image on Wix, there is a place where you can add alt text for it so that you'll know that it's available for you. Not sure why it's taking so long. I guess this was a lesson in clicking save. So the first time you start working on a template, make sure you click on save and give your site a name. I'll call it Beyond Access. And I'm going to save it. And now as soon as I saved, it's also going to start auto saving. So whatever just happened to me is not supposed to happen if you just click save once. And now every change we'll make will just be auto saved. Sorry about that. Going back to images. So every image that I want to control, I can control its alt text. Where was it? Sorry. I lost it. I think they moved it around. I'll just do a different thing. Just going to show you how we're adding an image. There's also, like, sometimes because we're Wix employees, we're getting some sort of testing on our sites, which kind of makes it hard to demo things sometimes. Okay, I just added an image, and if I click here on settings, it actually opens this menu where it says, what's in this image? Tell Google. This is actually also what defines the alt text for the image. So all of the images that you take from the media library should have some like okay alt text, but obviously you can come here and make it even better, make it fit your goal and your needs. But let's say if I want to say, instead of happy children, I want to say happy students in the sun, I can just do that. And now this will be my alt text. And the same way, like each type of image on Wix has a way for you to set the alt text for it. Yeah, I guess the last thing I kind of showed it without talking about it. This menu on the left has a lot of different options for you. The add panel is where you can add lots of different elements. You don't have to stick to what you have here on the template. You could add anything from text elements, images. You could also upload your own images, videos, fonts, whatever you want, and use them in your website. We have a lot of different buttons, a way to put an image gallery, decorative elements, boxes, strips, lists, like almost anything you can think of, including things that are more advanced, like managing your events online with Wix, or making a way for teachers to book, for parents to book a meeting with a specific teacher, or open an online store if you have, I don't know, school merchandise or things like that. A blog could be very useful for a school. So all of those things are things that you can just add to your site, like drag and drop and start working with. Really last thing, here at the top, we have the pages menu where you can see all the different pages on your site. Go, of course, move between them and edit them and make every changes that you want. But also here you can duplicate a page, you can delete it, you can control the URL that goes to it, and all the different settings that are around this. This was a lot of talking. I'll stop here and see if there's any questions about this part.
I'm keeping an eye on the chat for questions. A few came up that maybe we can address as a group. But I'm curious if anyone has any accessibility questions too, so feel free to drop them in the chat. So there's a question about ownership rights over any portions, if Wix has ownership over any parts of the site.
No, all the content on the site belongs to you.
Okay, awesome. And then there are a few questions about the plans for Wix, the basic plan versus other features.
Okay.
Or I guess
I'll answer that.
Plan include? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'll answer that in a minute. I just see like showing again how to do alt text and changing the language. I'll answer these while I'm still demoing, and then we'll talk about the plans in a second.
Perfect.
So I'll just go back to the images. So I'm going to go back to the home page because this is what I want to show. So an image that is added to the site, if you just click on the settings for it, here there's image text, and there's just a section that says what's in the image, tell Google. It helps improve SEO and accessibility. You just need to put it here. And again, all of these little details of like, where do you find the button that you need to click? Like what I usually do is just Google Wix, alt text, image, and then there's really great help articles that will walk you through all the steps, and we're always available to help if something like this is not clear. The other question about languages, we also have a way to add multiple languages to your site. Where is it hiding? That's a great question. Oh, I think it's here. Things always move around here, especially for us as employees. So under settings, you have this option that says multilingual. If I click on multilingual, it's going to ask me which languages I want to have my website in. But I could basically decide, like, the main language of the site is obviously English. But then let's say I want, I don't know, Spanish. Then I do this. And then this is, you might be actually seeing something that's not open to all users yet. It's really new. Up until now, we only had a way to do manual translation. So you would have to go through each one of the texts on your site and get help from Google Translate. But you could do that. But now we have a new feature that basically translates the whole page with Google Translate. So if you've already seen this, I'm going to show you how it works. It basically adds a different version to your site that is in Spanish and just gets Google Translate, goes through all of the page and translates it. And of course, then you need to go through the translation and make sure that it's correct, because Google Translate is not always the best. We're going to let it work. I guess it takes a little bit of time. When is it coming out? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure you were supposed to see that, but good for you. You saw it before it came out. And so maybe we'll let it work. And at the same time, we can talk a little bit about the plans. So Wix, as I mentioned, Wix is a freemium model based. When you work on a free site, when you preview and when you publish your site, you're going to have a banner at the top that says proudly created with Wix. When you upgrade to the lowest basic plan, you get rid of this banner and you get your own domain. So instead of, maybe I'll just click out of it. Just trust me that this is supposed to work. I guess I didn't show you that when I click preview, I can see how my site looks. Still have this lovely picture of the kids. And all I have to do to publish my site is actually click publish. And that's it. My site is now live. And if I send people to this URL of this is my username.wixsite.com/beyondaccess, because this is the name I chose for the site. If I now go and type this URL, you'll see the site. It's live, it's clickable, it's usable without me needing to do anything else. So this is the banner I was talking about. This banner goes away as soon as you start paying for a premium plan. There are no ads on the site. It's just this banner at the top. Like, there would never be other ads on your site. So basic plans, like, it kind of depends. There's a lot of sales, there's a lot of things, but I think it starts from something like $4 or $5 a month, which gets rid of this this banner and lets you choose your own domain. So it could be something like beyondaccess.com instead of morants.wixsite.com. The better premium tiers give you things like the ability to use the booking system or an online store, using email marketing with your students, a lot of things that I think are not as relevant for schools as they are for business owners. My guess is that most schools won't need anything more than the basic plans. Okay, figuring out about domains, where they are, where they're linked. I'm not the best person to answer those questions, but our customer care are really great at helping figure out those problems. Wherever your domain is, like you obviously need to figure out where it is, but you can transfer it to Wix if you want to, like that shouldn't be a problem. And if you want to switch to Wix, there's no way to like automatically migrate or convert a site. You will have to manually copy the content in, unfortunately. Mobile site, and then I guess maybe we should move forward. So, oops, sorry, not what I meant. So if I go back to the editor, clicking out of all those things, my mobile site is actually here. I can click on switch to mobile, and then it's going to show me how this site looks on mobile. And I can start moving things around. Let's say I'm like, I don't want to show this picture on mobile, so I just hide it. If I don't want this whole section, I just hide it. I can delete the space. I can like start playing with my mobile site here. Anything else that came up before, Saskia? I'm just looking at the last comments that come up.
I was just about to type an answer, but maybe I can answer it. So the basic plan for Wix is free no matter how you log in. So I think that's up to your school. If you're using your school email address, that's fine. But the plan is not just NYC specific, that's across the board. And then there's a question about e-commerce options. If fundraising can be monitored. I know that there's a lot of really wonderful plugins for Wix too. So a lot of different tools that you can check out, which I would definitely explore, especially if you have, I noticed a question about events, if you wanted to put information about events. So these are all additions that you can add to your site and customize it and make it your own. And then Moran, there's one question about analytics that maybe you can answer as I set up my screen.
Yeah, so we do have analytics to see usage in the site. There's a dashboard that I didn't show, but like once you start working on a site, you'll see its dashboard every time you log into Wix that shows basic usage statistics and things like that. You can also connect Google Analytics or any other tool to your Wix site if you really want it to be, if you see that the dashboard is not enough for you, but they show quite a lot of stuff in it.
Okay, and then one more question about domains. So with a premium plan, you can have a custom domain. So instead of having the wixsite.com/custom, whatever you put in there, and if you go and search for domains, whatever domain checker you use will usually tell you if that's been taken or if it's free. So if it has taken by someone else, then you cannot use it, but you can always modify it to create a different version.
Yeah, and the question about advertising, yeah, you can advertise on your site. If you want to put some sort of like third-party advertising or advertise your own things, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of questions still come through the chat about domain names. So maybe we can find an article about domain names that might help clarify a few of these questions, but I just want to make sure that we get to the third part of our time together, so we can stick around for any other questions as they arise. Okay, so we covered a little bit about what Wix is, kind of the different websites that you can create with Wix, had an amazing demo of our NYC DOE template, talked about accessibility. So we're going to switch gears for this third part a little bit and talk about what actually Moran and I focus on in our times when we're not running webinars with you all. So I wanted to introduce you to Wix Education. And Wix Education is focused actually on students. So inspiring students and their educators to create exciting and engaging experiences with Wix. Really making it a part of your toolkit for the classroom and beyond. So we're really thinking deeply about how to utilize these tools on Wix for students to be able to create their own websites, to express themselves, to explore their creativity, to explore their creative and critical thinking as well. And so we are creating a way to do that in multiple forms. Really digging into this idea that we see the web as a limitless creative medium where students can, not just use websites to express themselves through portfolios or showcase their work, but really tell their story, communicate things that they care about, and also learn digital literacy along the way. Oops, I did not want to click that. There we go. So the way that we've designed these materials, and I'll talk about the materials in a second, is really with these ideas in mind. So thinking about creativity, exploration, self-expression, developing problem-solving skills, thinking about student-led learning and having the student be the one that's guiding their own learning through project-based resources. We love celebrating community, think really deeply about equity and inclusion, and think about technology as a tool in your toolkit. So for you as an educator who might want to teach with these tools, we empower you to think about yourself as a designer and a lead learner. And even if these ideas are new to you and you're new to the world of web design and web creation, to see yourself in the position of a student, because we don't often get to be in that position where we can learn and explore alongside of our students. So now that I've talked a little bit about our values, let's dig into the details of what this looks like. So right now we have 3 courses that Moran and myself are creating together that are in development, that are web creation, web design, and web development. So web creation is focused on human-centered design. So thinking about focusing on students as creating the worlds around them. Web design is really visual focused. Web development is focused on coding. We also have an intro course that's not represented in this slide. That's kind of an introduction to the Wix editor to get started. So each course that we've developed comes with a suite of lesson plans per course. And here's a little glimpse of what that plan might look like. Google slide presentations and educator guides so that you can adapt and use these plans in different formats for whatever environment suits you best. And then in addition to the lesson plans, we've also created a suite of activities that correspond to the plan. So students can go into Wix and practice these ideas, learn more about the editor, but really dive into what they're learning about web creation, web design, web development. We're also creating a teacher dashboard so teachers can more easily see their students' work and communicate with students, and also a custom platform for students that's FERPA compliant and safe for students to be creating on their own. All of these materials, I should say, are designed for ages 13 plus to make sure that students are being super safe online. So with that, I'll turn the floor over again to Moran to share a little bit about the side-by-side.
Sorry, I was trying to paste the link, but it's not clickable. Saskia, maybe you can add the HTTP. Yeah, so the other part, other than the lesson plans and the presentations, the other big piece of these courses is what we call a side-by-side. It's a way for your students to work and learn how to use the editor through actually using the editor. So we developed this sidebar on the right that's actually guiding students through the steps of learning about a topic. For example, we thought this is a great fit for this conference. This is a lesson about accessibility. So if they're actually learning about adding alt text and changing the heading structures and making sure that color contrast is right by just working on this template and following those steps that show them where to search for different things. All of these activities, Saskia, can you go to the next slide? They're step-by-step. They have little visuals in them, GIFs or videos or images that show you where to click. They're self-guided, like you can do them at your own pace. And you could also skip a step if you don't want to do that. You can jump back and go. You can jump forward and go back if you want to finish it. And it's a combination of using very specific instructions like click here to change the alt text, with a lot of steps that encourage open-ended customization and personal projects, and a lot of agency on their side. So you won't see any step that tells you go and change this text title to be red size 20. You'll see something that says go and explore the different options to customize text design by clicking here. And these, in combination with the lesson plans and the presentation, create a really great experience for the students. Yeah,
Oops, I keep clicking out.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're almost at time. We would love to share more about these materials with you. We dropped a link into the chat for this, but to stay in touch about our upcoming courses, the things we're creating, or to be in touch with us, there's a link that will bring you to this website where you can fill out your information. If there's anything specific that you want to tell us about who you are, how you plan to implement these courses, you're welcome to add more about that. You can also visit us in our booth where we'll be hanging out and answering questions. So if there's any questions that remain, we know that you have a lot of things to check out today, so we don't want to keep you on for too long. So with that, I'll leave you with this message that we're dedicated to building an internet for everyone. So encourage you to go out and build your own sites that share your stories, share who you are, and encourage your students to do the same. So here's our emails if you have any other questions and want to stay in touch. But it was really wonderful to share this time with you and learn more about your work and the things you like to make and the questions you have. So thank you so much, and we hope to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. So yeah, please, I put the links in the chat. So please do stop by the Wix booth. Lots of questions here. So they'll be available for the afternoon to answer any questions. So we can navigate our way back to the booth and visit with the partners, and then we'll come back for the next session at 1:30. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.